John Doe. Origin 7. Occupation unknown job, professional serial killer. Powers and skills: high intelligence, highly skilled planner and strategist, successful executioner, manipulation skills. Hobby: murdering and torturing people, specifically those who commit or are even semi-guilty of any one of the 7 deadly sins of Christianity, antagonizing Mills and Somerset. Goals: punish sinners via a well-planned-out murder and manipulation spree, make an example of each targeted victim to make a point to the world's next generations, manipulate Detective David Mills into killing him for revenge of killing his wife as part of the final 7th sin. Type of villain: serial killer, fanatic, complete monster. John Doe is the primary antagonist of the 1995 successful dark psychological mystery thriller film 7. He is a professional, psychopathic, manipulative, and ruthless serial killer who's bent on murdering countless people with basing on Christic 7 sins in order to prove an ideal point. John Doe is a middle-aged, psychopathic serial killer obsessed with the 7 deadly sins of Christianity. He carefully targets his victims and apparently plans their deaths while cleverly stalking them and by secretly gathering as much of their personal information as possible without getting exposed or caught. He tortures them to death in symbolic murders, representing an attempt, at least in his own mind, to remind the world about the inevitability to avoid these deadly sins that ultimately will lead to their tragic demise either way. His insanity is based on fanaticism and obsession, but did little to damage his knowledge. In fact, his madness may have added to it, as he is portrayed as a twisted mastermind who is comfortable and very smitten in toying with the authorities. Doe particularly seems to highly enjoy playing mind games with the film's protagonists. He was portrayed by Kevin Spacey. Mr. Pulford, aka Bricktop. Origin: Snatch. Occupation: illegal sports promoter and crime lord. Powers and skills: lots of henchmen. Power: man-eating pigs. Can be threatening. Intelligence. Hobby: making money on bets, feeding his victims to his pigs. Goals: making money, persuading Mickey O'Neill to fight. Type of villain: mobster. Mr. Pulford, also known as Bricktop, is the main antagonist in the 2000 film Snatch. Bricktop is a feared crime lord and gangster in the City of London, England, in the United Kingdom. He owns a bookie office, which he takes bets on sports like boxing and other events at agreed odds. He kills anyone who is in his way or disappoints him, mainly with the use of animals such as pigs. Bricktop was played by Alan Ford. Imhotep, aka the Mummy, Lord Imhotep. by his servants, including his faithful cult of Imhotep. Origin: the mummy. Occupation: high priest of the pharaoh. Sorcerer, lord and master of the cult of Imhotep. In the remake. Powers and skills: vast magical powers of the gods of ancient Egypt. Dark magic, great strength, cunning, draining the life energy of victims. Hobby: gaining power. Goals: reviving his lover, Anck-su-namun. Take over the world of the living with the army of Anubis and the cult of Imhotep. Type of villain: mummy. Imhotep is the high priest during the reign of Cady I. He carries on an affair with Anck-su-namun, the pharaoh's mistress, whom other men are forbidden to touch. He helps her assassinate Pharaoh Cady I, and she kills herself to avoid capture by the royal Magi guards, intending for Imhotep to resurrect her afterwards. Imhotep and his priests then stole her body and took it to Hamunaptra, the city of the dead, where he intended to resurrect her by using the Black Book of the Dead. However, he was interrupted by the Magi before the ritual could be completed, as punishment for their sacrilege. The priests were mummified alive, while Imhotep himself had to endure the Hom-Dai, the worst of all ancient Egyptian curses, which involved having his tongue cut out and being mummified and buried alive, along with several flesh-eating scarabs. However, the curse of the Hom-Dai meant that Imhotep would become a plague upon mankind if he were ever released or resurrected. So the Magi and their descendants kept a constant watch over Hamunaptra, where Imhotep was buried, for over 3,000 years afterward, to ensure that no outsider would ever find the city and thereby risk bringing Imhotep back to life. Imhotep was portrayed by Arnold Vosloo. Aldrich Killian, aka Killian, or the Mandarin. Origin: Iron Man 3. Occupation: CEO, founder, and owner of AIM, creator of the Extremis, and of the Mandarin, multimillionaire, scientist, and terrorist. Powers and skills: very high intelligence, martial arts knowledge, Extremis virus, high fighting skills, ability to produce extreme heat, fire breath, regenerative healing factor, superhuman durability, strength, and reflexes. Hobby: antagonizing Tony Stark, terrorizing. Goals: kill Iron Man, aka Tony Stark, kill the US President, conquer the world by spreading the Extremis virus all over it, steal Tony's love interest, Pepper, and to improve her with the Extremis. Type of villain: terrorist. The Mandarin is the arch-enemy of Iron Man and has appeared as the main antagonist in Iron Man 3. The Mandarin is the leader of the Ten Rings and is an antagonist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's a well-known international terrorist who leads the Ten Rings, but is made up to many despite actually being real. Aldrich Killian, also known as the Mandarin or simply Killian, is the main antagonist of Iron Man 3. Killian created his own version, the Mandarin, to be a cover of his operations, was the CEO, founder, and owner of the technology company AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics, and was a multi-millionaire scientist and terrorist. He was portrayed by Guy Pearce, who also portrayed Kendall Duncan. Alec Trevelyan, aka 006, Janus, or Alec. Origin: Goldeneye. Occupation: former MI6 00 agent, leader of the crime syndicate Janus, and a cyber terrorist. Powers and skills: marksmanship, superb martial arts skills, genius level intellect, charisma, stealth. Hobby: motivating James, manipulating people. Goals: kill James Bond and use the Goldeneye space weapon to destroy the British economy, avenge his family's demise. Type of villain: terrorist, tragic villain, mastermind. Alec Trevelyan, formerly known as 006 and now known as Janus, is an ex-MI6 agent turned cyber terrorist and the main antagonist of the 1995 film Goldeneye. Trevelyan is unique amongst James Bond's adversaries in that not only was a former MI6 agent, but also Bond's best friend. He is portrayed by Sean Bean, who also portrays Sean Miller, Patrick Coster, Ian Howe, Dr. Merrick, and John Ryder. Karl Rudolph Stargher. Origin: The Cell. Occupation: torturing women and turning them into hideous, creepy dolls. Powers and skills: super strength, master of fear in his own mind as well as others. Hobby: drowning his female victims and converting their corpses into demented works of his sick arts. Goals: to trap J-Lo forever and transform her into his ultimate fetish plaything. Type of villain: psychotic villain, abominable terror, complete monster. Karl Rudolph Stargher is a serial killer who kidnaps his victims and traps them in a cell in the form of a glass enclosure that is slowly filling with water by means of an automatic timer before he performs a ritual washing with bleach and water on their corpses, a quote, cleansing, and turns their bodies into some sort of dolls with chain-like crimson red necklaces, which in his mind means he owns them. He is the main antagonist of the 2000 psychological sci-fi thriller The Cell. He was portrayed by Vincent D'Onofrio. Karl Ruprecht Kroenen, aka Kroenen. Origin: Hellboy Comics. Occupation: Nazi scientist. Powers and skills: unable to feel pain, very skilled with a pair of Tonfa-style swords, gifted surgeon, nigh immortally, wall crawling, stealth. Hobby: killing, performing surgery on himself, listening to opera. Goals: aiding Rasputin with his goals. Type of villain: sadist, Nazi. Karl Ruprecht Kroenen is a fictional Nazi scientist in the Hellboy comics, created by Mike Mignola. In the comics, Kroenen was a relatively unremarkable Nazi SS scientist, whose most distinguishing characteristic was that he always wore a gas mask and protective bodysuit, possibly due to the severe obsessive-compulsive disorder and fear of bacteria. Director Guillermo del Toro created a significantly expanded biography for the character to appear as the secondary antagonist in the 2004 film adaptation. Karl Ruprecht Kroenen was played by Ladislav Baran. Maximilian Caddy, aka Max Caddy. Origin: The Executioners. Cape Fear. Occupation: convicted rapist, killer. Powers and skills: high intelligence, physical strength, fighting skills, manipulation, raping, murder skills, gunmanship. Hobby: raping women, overpowering and killing his victims. Goals: to torment and kill Sam Bowden and his family for getting him sent to prison for a rape he committed. Type of villain: psychopath, seeker of vengeance, complete monster. Maximilian Caddy, often shortened to Max Caddy, is the main antagonist in John D. MacDonald's 1957 psychological thriller novel The Executioners, which has been adapted into a film named Cape Fear. He is portrayed by Robert Mitchum in the 1962 film and Robert De Niro in the 1991 remake. Caddy is an ex-convict who comes back after several years, 8 years in the original film and 14 years in the remake, in prison to take revenge on Sam Bowden, the lawyer who helped put him in jail, and his family. It must be noted that in the original film, Bowden testified against Caddy in court, while in the remake he was in charge of his defense, but buried a report that could have kept him from serving time. The charges were of sexual abuse and battery in both films. Also, during his confinement, Caddy dedicated himself mostly to studying law, so he won't be caught off guard next time. In the 1991 film, he also takes a keen interest in the Bible and uses it to justify his actions as that of a man of God. Humungus, aka Lord Humungus, the Humungus. Origin, Mad Max 2, Road Warrior. Occupation, the Biker's Gang Lord. Powers and skills, firearm skills, strength, car driving, leadership skills, intelligence. Hobby, not applicable. Goals, kill the group of the rebels, take the gasoline, and rule over the entire wasteland. Type of villain, big, bad, wrathful villain, tragic villain. Lord Humungus is the main antagonist of the 1981 film Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, and is a gang lord in a world still largely ruled by gangs. He was portrayed by Kjell Nilsson. According to an interview with one of the writers of Road Warrior, Humungus was once a military soldier who had his face burned to an ugly crisp and had a girlfriend/wife murdered, which goes with his statement to Wes, "I understand your pain. We've all lost someone we loved." Wes. Origin, Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. Occupation, Lieutenant, Marauder, Raider. Powers and skills, raping and pillaging, motorcycle skills, crossbolt skills. Hobby, raping and pillaging, crashing parties, appearing in weird science. Goals, gather up all the gasoline in the wasteland, kill Mad Max. Type of villain, psycho, lunatic, battle buddy, epic 80s motor trash villain, mohawk having badass. Wes is the secondary antagonist of the 1981 film Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, taking place in a world ruled by gangs. Wes is a mohawked, leather-clad biker who serves as Lord Humungus' lieutenant in the gang, leading groups of the warrior bikers in several battles. He is considered the most evil of Humungus' followers, and is a psychotic brute who is cruel and the main henchman of Humungus. Reactive and unrelenting is his pursuit of prey. Wes was played by Vernon Wells. Next time on Epic Villains of TV and Movie History.